Nick, we want to work with you, over here in the Netherlands, but you're 2 hours away, by train. I know that isn't much for some people. I know how large Canada is, but over here that's like the opposite side of the country. Then we agreed on, like, if I take the train, we are kind of live now. This is what I always wanted to say. We are live.
And we are officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Nick.
Welcome to the Design Table Podcast. So we've begun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That countdown is nice.
That's very nice.
5, 4 until 1, and then we go.
And this is our second podcast, and we officially have a name, the Design Table Podcast, which I love that we have it's becoming real and it's official.
Mm-hmm. And it's something you came up with, and it's relevant for designers for several reasons. Mostly the table being quite literally the place we are talking from, but also the place we want to end up at as designers, right? With a seat at a table,
of course.
Or shouldn't we? But that's a teaser for another episode. But yes, you're right. It's very exciting to have a name, a website coming up, and by the time people hear this, I have to remember that it's a bit later down the road. The website should be there already. So that can't be a teaser for this moment, because then it's already there.
In movie magic fashion, it'll be already done by the time these go live.
Yes, yes.
It's already done.
Yes, the first super cool quote of this episode is already made by Mr. Tyler White. That's very cool.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about today, Nick?
Well, today we're talking about working from home versus returning to the office / having to return to the office. Pros, cons, that kind of stuff. Very hot topic. It feels like it is, the working from home dream is under pressure, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends on the type of industry, but I think it's more relevant for our industry more specifically because we have the opportunity or like the privilege to kind of work wherever we might. And I think we had this kind of switch after the pandemic where we had no choice to work remotely or work from home. So that kind of sparked the opportunity. And it's interesting to see like how that's played out.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when you only have one option, and that is to work from home, like then we really have to. And now that it's optional, I feel like lots of companies are going back to what was the old normal, but still somewhat the more trusted or the normal that's always been there. And well, let's go back anyway, because it always used to work. That kind of stuff, and why change a winning team? That kind of feeling. I also think that maybe it's a bit scary for managers or companies to have people work from home. Like maybe there's a lack of trust, perhaps. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's all of them. Like I'm not sure if there's a main reason. Like, what do you think?
I think there's a management style that you have to adopt and then evolve to properly execute a remote first company. I think I remember, if I'm remembering when I used to be in the office like 5 days a week, there was this comfort from like a leadership or managerial point of view where you can see people working. And then they're doing their stuff. But I think when it comes to remote, we're in our homes, we have lives, maybe we're parents, dealing with the kids, life happens, and then we have more of an opportunity to kind of be flexible. And then if managers don't kind of see that green bubble online, we're wondering what we're doing. but I think the strategy is a bit different. I think you should have goals within the year or within the quarter that you're judged. I think you should be judged on performance or output versus time on screen. I think that's the difference. I think you should be setting your goals for your employees, making sure that they're hitting them. And if they're working the 8 hours or 6 hours a day and they're still performing, I think that's all that matters.
So when you're saying goals, do you mean like personal goals or more like when you're
Or
part of
more,
a, let's say, a Scrum team and you have a goal like I have to finish work on this onboarding flow before Friday, for example?
yeah, I think it's like roadmap. I think it's just like what did we commit to this year? What's on the roadmap? And then uh if you're well, it depends if you're a B2B, but like what did we commit to delivering? And then if we hit those goals, then that's all that should matter. If I worked 1 hour a week and we still hit those goals, well, in that case, I'm probably I probably don't have a full plate, but like you should, we should be setting realistic expectations that we get that should hit, and that should output all is all that should matter, at least in my review.
It does make things measurable. Like if you, let's say you have let's say you have this meeting on a Monday, and it maybe it's not a meeting to set goals for the whole year. No, let's say that's already been done, but now we're looking at goals for this week. And for this week, like your manager and you agree to work on so some kind of onboarding flow, or maybe one of the big flows, and you're like, well, that's doable. I can finish it this week. That also makes slacking off, the thing some managers might be afraid of, quite difficult, because you've been there in the meeting, you think it's achievable, and then on Friday, let's say, and then you have another meeting and it's not done, for whatever reason, like that's it's you can't just go to a zoo during the whole week or go swimming somewhere and
Yeah.
just let the work be the work, because you have this deadline. For me personally, that's motivating. Like I need a deadline for myself. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
I
that
think I'm,
prevents the thing people are afraid of. Like, is he working? Well, we agreed on this thing, and if he delivers, he probably has done the work.
yeah, exactly. And I think there's like a micro strategy that, on my current job that I like, that's actually pretty, it's beneficial in two ways. Just, so we have a Slack, our kind of designer Slack channel, and like every day, every morning, we kind of post of like what we did today, we did yesterday. It's like a mini stand up, but like asynchronous, like what we did yesterday, what we, what we're going to be working in today. And then we're linking to our current work, whether that's a FigJam file, a Figma file, or a Confluence page. Everyone from our team has access to all the work. So if a manager was so curious to see what progress, they can just quickly jump into the file and see what's going on. So I think at that level, like just like being, I think just communicating with your team to see like what the progress is at that level, I think that helps as well versus not not knowing what's happening during the week or a couple of weeks down the road.
So if you don't have the what I've done yesterday chat, like, do they come knocking right away? Like, hey, you didn't post?
No, I mean, no, I don't think so. I think it just depends on like the manager. I like my manager is like, I trust you until you show me that I can't trust you. So like, I think it's just making sure. I think there's a trust. Like you've been hired to do a job, you should be doing it. And if you're not, then let's have a conversation. Um, but I think it's about building that company culture of like creating a culture of communicating, creating a culture of making sure that everyone is up to date, using the right tools, whether that's Slack or Confluence, like to make sure that we're tracking everything, and then everyone has access to what we're working on, which I think it's good. So if everyone has access to what you're working on, um, you're not hiding anything, and you get to see things evolve in real time without
Well,
being hovering.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's nice, and I like how you're saying. Well, I like the transparency. Like everyone can see everyone's work, without feeling looked over, like someone's hovering me, like, hey, they're looking over my shoulder the whole day. Like it's just there if you want to see someone's work. And I also like the word, like you mentioned, like the culture. I mean, that's one of the reasons pro office people, if I'm allowed to call them that, like they say, like, well, if you're in the office, that's a way easier way to build company culture. It's good to be in the same room, have workshops together, have a good vibe, and it's easy to just walk over to someone's desk if you have a question instead of having to hope they have an eye on Slack. What do you think is a good way to build a company culture when you're in different places in the world and you can't really go into an office? Like, is there anything like next best you can do?
Yeah, because I think it's about like there's obviously like drawbacks and benefits to either or. I think that's you hit the nail on the head. I think one big benefit of being in the office is that you have those like water cooler conversations with people outside of your immediate kind of team. So like you're grabbing lunch, you're speaking to people who are not necessarily within your design group, or maybe they're in sales, maybe they're in customer success, and you get to hear what they're working on, and that kind of you're building relationships there. Um, but I think when it comes to like working remote, I think it's part leadership to kind of build the culture, but it's also part on you individually. Like I know I do a conscious effort to kind of reach out to people who are not necessarily in my immediate group or pod or team, especially when I started a new. So like when I started my new company, I made it a goal or like a task just to speak to everyone. And they're people that I don't interact with at all. I'm not in their meetings. I'm not in their stand-ups. I'm not generally in those kind of sessions, but I'm building relationships, and then I'm able to ask them, like, I'm usually asking them if there's any way I can help and any way you can help me. And then I can get a feel of um, how we can best support each other. So I think it's part on the business and also on you as well, just to put in that effort to reach out and build that culture on your side as well.
Yeah, and I think that skill is maybe even more important while working remote versus being in an office. The skill of
Yeah, I think
being
so.
visible, so to say.
That's a good one
Um,
too. You can
yeah,
fall through the cracks if you're not, if you're just task pushing in Jira, you can kind of go unnoticed. I think there's a point there to kind of being visible and showing your impact. Because if you're just
yeah,
like moving the Kanban, you're not really uh, you're not really show, showing marketing yourself, I guess.
yeah, that's true. I think we're that's a whole separate thing, perhaps. Like, do you want to do more than just to work? Like, if you, for example, if you are in house and if you're looking for a promotion, I think then it's super important. But if you're happy where you are, like, career wise, like if you're like, well, I just want to do the work, like maybe then that's enough. So maybe your personal goals play a role in what should be your best location as well. Like some people
Yeah,
say that junior people should be in an office first for a year just to, really feel the vibe. I don't really like the sentence "feel the vibe," but just to be around senior people, talk to people, learn from people, and then once they are more proficient in their work, then maybe remote should be an option. That's something I've seen people say. Yeah, so personal goals are a big factor in remote versus office. I would say, yeah,
yeah, I think yeah, if you're in office and your goal is to get kind of go up the ladder, get promoted, kind of follow that career path, I think it definitely helps. So like that that remote first, like making sure um you're speaking and making yourself visible versus being yeah, if you're happy just we're doing the work, then it's great. You log in, you love kind of getting your hands dirty, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a designer, just getting the work done. If that's fun for you, that's great as well. And I think it's also like the personality type. So if you're an introvert or extrovert, some people get a lot of energy from like being around other people, like in person, um, versus the introverts that kind of it sucks away a lot of your energy. So I think it also depends on like that personality type that you are.
Yeah. Do you do you think that's something people should test and find out about themselves before finding, a job?
I think I'm with you. I think like if you're a junior, going in office just to get like the full experience, yeah, I think if you have the experience of like how a company runs in person, um, and then taking the best parts of that in-office experience and try to translate it to remote, I think that helps. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. My first few years were all working in an office, but I think that's just because it was normal back in the day. So we're talking about 2016 until 2019. First 3 or 4 years of my career, and then later on, like I think just before the pandemic hit, I was already in an office or in a company where they were like, once or twice a week from home. That's fine. Like we
Yeah.
don't need you here all the time. Um, for me personally, I was okay with, having then 3 or 4 days of office work, but I got so used to being remote full time, during lockdowns, that it was very hard for me to return to something I was completely fine with, years before the pandemic. Like I really struggled to go back to once or twice a week, even, in an office.
What were the biggest like challenges for you? Like,
Well, I think working from home in most cases is a very luxurious position to be in. It's not, you don't have the commute. Over here,
no,
like we have
yeah,
lots of traffic jams and very busy trains if you don't want to go
mm,
by car.
yeah,
Um, um, so, it's back in the day, like what we're talking about now, like having to, leaving lockdowns and being able to go into an office again. It would save me 1 or 2 hours a day, like not having to drive somewhere. And those really are mental health hours for me. It's really the time you have left. It's time to cook dinner, maybe do a workout, play with your child, walk with your wife, all the fun stuff you don't really have the time for at the end of a day with commuting. Um, so it was very hard to give that up, you know. We really got used to it.
yeah. I think well, because I have a family as well. I think that's a big switch. Like when you start a family, like especially when they're young. I don't know what your opinion is, but like those first couple, like at least 5 years, are so crucial, and like they only stay small for long, right? So it's you
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the time that you get to spend with them. Um, and yeah, it is like could be an hour each way. So those 2 hours you'll never get back. You're just spent on the
Yeah.
bus or on a train.
Yes, yes, but I also remember like some people were very flexible with it. When I say people, I actually mean like projects and customers. Some people said to me like, "Hey Nick, we want to work with you, over here in the Netherlands, but like you're 2 hours away, by train." I know that isn't much for some people. I know how large Canada is, but over here that's, like the opposite side of the country. Then we agreed on like if I take the train, like not a car, but if I go by train, I'm allowed to, let's say, from those 2 hours to work about 1 or 1.5 hours of my time on the train. Like if I can find a seat and I have my
Interesting.
laptop with me, so then I can work while traveling. I mean, because you're sitting there anyway, like you're just there in the train, walking, looking out the window. So why not spend some time already working? So that turned out to be, quite the idea. Instead of having 4 hours of work on top of 8 hours of, sorry, 4 hours of commute on top of 8 hours of work, 12 total only turned out to be like 9 or 10 in total, because of the overlap we agreed on.
It's very nice of them, actually.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good deal, I'd say.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
curious because you have like this perspective of working freelance, so like that's interesting as well. I'm curious how, 'cause you mentioned that you like, was that a freelancing job or that you worked for a company at the time?
The one I'm talking about now was a bit in between. Like it wasn't really freelance. I think it's more like midlance. I'm not sure if that's a thing over there, but um, yeah, it's where you have like the middle person, and they have the freelancing clients, but you're like in-house with
Oh, okay.
the middle person. So for me, I would do everything I would do for a freelance client as well, and they would help. But you get a salary instead of an hourly rate. So you like the pro side is you always have the salary, like you don't have the risk of freelancing. But the downside is your like your net take home pay is a bit lower versus the risky freelance route.
Okay. So was that as like contract work? It was like, were you there for like a set period, or I'm curious how that setup is.
I was really full time there. Like I know it's people do it on a temporary basis as well, but I really was an employee there. Like we're really
Okay.
talking about like 2019 or something, 2018, 2019. It's been a while. 2020. It's been a while. Maybe I'm saying wrong years now, but that's, they were very flexible, and it was a very fun project to work on as well. It had to do with potatoes and how they're grown.
Potatoes. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was all about the design for, like the farmers, and then they had drones, and then they would be able to scan like the fields and see like, hey, there's too much water, there isn't enough water. Like that needs an interface as well,
Mm. Okay, it sounds like an AI project.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm
Huh?
not sure. I'm sure there's some image recognition and AI stuff going on there, but this was before like the AI boom. Like I'm sure there's some AI there, but I don't think we called it AI yet.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. But I haven't had any you have to return to the office kind of emails yet. Like it's in my experience, it's always been like, hey, let's talk. Let's like, what do you want? This is what we want. Let's see if we can find the middle ground. It's always been very
Mm.
friendly.
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't had that conversation either. I know when I was job seeking, that was a topic that came up. So depending on the type of company, there would be, yeah, we're in office half the week. But again, for me, I was like, I'd rather, I'd rather work from home, to be honest. To the points that we touched, like those 2 hours in commute, especially me, because our train station has been out of commission for 5 years now. So it used to take me 15 minutes to get downtown. Now it takes me, if I go by bus and metro, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, if something's been out of commission for 5 years, it's probably safe to say it's going to be out of commission forever.
Yeah, no, I think that's just a Montreal thing.
Oh, okay.
We're
Yeah.
we're known for taking a while for anything
Oh, okay.
infrastructure.
Okay. Did you have any like negotiation goals like while job searching? Like, okay, I'm not going to go over 1 day a week or like something like that. Or
I think I was strictly looking for a remote. I think I was just the last, uh, yeah, the last two companies that I worked for, it was remote first, and I think I think that was my goal. I think that was my non-negotiable. Um, well, yeah, I think it was okay with 1 day a week. It just depended where it was. So if it was close by, I'd be, if it was in the half an hour radius, totally on board. Otherwise, I don't know. I like my office setup. I have my setup that I need. I have my coffee. I have my bathroom that only I use. So
Mhm.
uh,
You know it's clean.
I know it's clean, and I'm the only one who uses it. So
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your setup like? Like, do you have any essentials? You feel like let's imagine someone's listening to this like, I want to go the remote way of working as well. All I have is my old laptop. Like, what else do they need?
Well, I mean, you don't need anything. I think everything else is luxury. But if you're talking about equipment or just talking about kind of strategy,
Let's say equipment, like your home office setup.
okay. Well, a lot of this stuff I don't use as much as I thought I would. But I have so I have my stand-up desk. If I need to stretch or do any, um, well, I only use it actually, if I'm doing any wireframing work. I find it quite difficult to do, um, long like design work standing up. I would get a bit fidgety, but if I'm on a call, I'll do a stand-up desk. As well, I have my walking pad. So I have my little treadmill, which I use. But I won't use it on a call. That I feel it's a bit obnoxious, and to have somebody walking while you're talking to them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's very popular, the walking pad. A few of the bigger names on Twitter are really finding out about the thing just now.
Yeah, I
I
think
was always concerned about like the sound, like the mechanical sound of the thing rotating. Like, is it loud? Does it distract you at all? Or
I don't think so. Well, not me. It doesn't bother me. But again, I don't generally use it on a video call, so it doesn't affect anyone else. Um, but you get in a groove. I feel like there's specific work that you can do while you're on it. I think Figma is off limits as you're trying to. It's only it's like trying to pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time. It's like you're juggling too many you're juggling
yeah,
too
yeah,
many things.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think if you're doing some wireframe work, if you're doing some writing or some typing, it's perfect. Um, and then you get your 10K
Yeah.
steps in. Keep
Nice.
your weight down, especially in the
Hmm.
winter time.
Yeah. So this is really a piece of equipment. It's more about physical and mental health. Like, it's not really going to be a productivity hack, but it's important
Uh,
still, because you're while working remote versus in office, you're walking less, like you're standing up less. You're just at home, and
yeah,
it's very easy to be in your pajamas and just sit for 8 hours straight.
that's a big one. I think one of the biggest things that I do now, um, just like just because I spend most of my days at home, right? Just because like I'm not leaving to go to the office. I mean, other than like going to see friends and doing some groceries here and there. Um, I started exercising a lot more. So I've dedicated my lunchtime to working out
Okay,
so that I have a
smart.
bit of non-screen time. Well, that's not true because I follow something on it. I do a little video thing on my TV, so it's still screen, but at least I'm doing a bit of movement. Um, and it's definitely broken up my day. Just because I don't have time in the morning and I will never do it at night. So if I
Right.
slide it in midday, I'm forced to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Like, do you then go outside for a run or something, or do you have like dumbbells at home, or?
I do. I've actually what I started to do because I was getting lazy and I was only in the last like 3 4 months I've actually taken my exercise seriously. But I have my dumbbells next to my desk in hopes of picking them up during the day, which never.
Right. Yeah, no, I know that feeling. Yeah, so that's something you have to be aware of if you want to go the remote way of work. You lose a bit of social energy, you lose a bit of movement. But if you can make up for it by going outside, going to see friends outside of work, perhaps exercising during your lunch break, like, you can offset those downsides of working remote.
Yeah, I think just doing a bit of movement instead of sitting on
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
ergonomic chair all day can do some help. I'm
Mm.
curious what your setup looks like. What's your routine?
Well, I I try to go for a walk during lunch. My inclination is to go. Like I'm on the first floor now. And then when it's lunchtime, I go downstairs, I make my lunch, and then I sit down on a couch and watch TV. You know, that's what my default thing would be. But then I stand up to go sit somewhere else. I don't think that's a very smart thing to do. So that's why I make a sandwich and then I go walk for 30 or 45 minutes, like if the weather permits it. And then if it's like if it's raining or freezing or like some kind of weather where it's not really nice to have a long walk, I do a workout or a bit of gardening, like if I can, just trying to be away from the screen. I have a standing desk too, like a standing/sitting desk. I can press this button in front of me and then it moves up. I think having a laptop stand is also very important. Otherwise, you're like looking down the whole time, and then I think that's bad for your neck, for your posture.
Curious if you cover. I've done this, and I always find it weird. If you're on a call and you've you've gotten tired of standing, and you lower back to the seating position mid call. I know I personally I know I personally follow my desk, so it looks like I'm not I'm not doing that activity. I'm just curious if you ever done the same.
I always feel a bit afraid to do something like that mid call. Like only if it's someone I know very well, then I would be completely honest about it. Like, oh, wait a minute, I have to sit down. Or the opposite, if it's like a big group call where it goes a bit unnoticed if you turn off your camera for let's say like 20 seconds, like the time it takes for the thing to go down. But like 90% of the time, when I know like, okay, this is a 1 hour meeting, I'm already a bit tired, then I would sit down before the meeting starts. Because it's too much of a social thing, I think, for me at least, to lower the desk mid call.
Yeah, I guess I'm more bold, but I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll do that following thing where I'll follow it and then put
yeah.
my mic to mute so you don't hear the buzzing of my of my stand-up desk lowering.
I wish I could have seen that happening. You trying to
Well,
be
I'll give you
calm
a
and
quick
casual.
demo maybe one of these days. I
Okay.
think
Oh, that's very
there's a
nice.
technique. There's a technique to it, and I
Yeah.
want to maybe come up with a name and brand it. Maybe.
Yeah. Tailoring.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. But and then I also have like the second screen, the bigger monitor. Like you don't really need it. That isn't really essential. But I do notice, like if let's say I'm working from the kitchen for a moment for whatever reason, and then I only have the laptop, you do get used to the big screen. So, and then it suddenly feels small on the laptop. While if you don't have a second screen and you're fully used to a laptop only, like then it's not a problem. Like it's just you, without really realizing it, you are upping your standards.
Yeah, I think for me, the two screens has become a non-negotiable. I think I can't to your point. Like if you're doing some work on your laptop, I'm missing that second screen to I don't know whether I'm looking at a document and then designing something, or I'm coding something and then on the second screen seeing the results. Um, I've just always had two screens, so maybe I'm yeah, maybe I've just gotten used to it. But I think for me,
What?
two screens are it's got to be two screens.
Yeah. Well, when you say two screens, do you mean two external ones or one big screen and the laptop next to it?
Um, I have two external screens, so I have my
Okay.
laptop, but it's always closed. But
That's
I'll do the laptop one external screen. That works too.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I have my screen right in front of me, like the one I'm looking at right now, with you and some stuff in the background still, and then to my left I have the laptop. So that's a small screen, but the main one here is quite big already. So that works for me. When I would have two screens, I think I would get a bit annoyed with having like the the bezel in the middle. I would always be looking at the right and then to the left. I can't really look down the middle because then you would look at the screen's edge. Or do you have like a main screen you're looking at, and then You have
I
to
have it
twist.
for getting technical here. I have it relatively in the middle, but I'm 4 inches to the right of the bezel,
Right. Yeah,
which is where I've lined up my camera. So I don't
right.
stare. So I have technically have my main screen, which is the right. Oh, here's a quick question. You're a coder as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a text editor on the right or on the left?
I'm a I have a text editor, a code editor on the right, and then the preview or the live page on the left.
Good bet. We can still be friends.
Well, that's this. For the people listening, this isn't rehearsed at all. Like I felt real fear at this moment. Like, shit, I have to I have to say the correct thing now, and I'm glad I did.
Good. Good.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me think of that Silicon Valley show where like the main character had this big fight over tabs versus spaces. Like that doesn't sound super important to me, but then if you're not on the same team, like then there's a big problem.
Yeah. I don't think are you a tabs or a spaces person? Let's go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, I did the tabs just because it saves clicks. And one thing I've never seen someone say before, but isn't a tab a big space anyway?
That is that's a new life motto.
Yeah, we're going a bit philosophical here. I have to remind myself that this episode is about remote work.
That's right.
Yeah, like so maybe one big question, like maybe one of the final ones is there a thing that could convince you to leave behind the remote days? Like what could make you go into an office?
Oh, I think two things. If it was 5 minutes away from home, I think for me, I have some restrictions because I have my son in daycare. So, my wife starts very early in the morning, so she's out of the house, um, really early, so like at around like 6:37. Um, but our daycare only opens at 8 o'clock. Um, so having that's something that I have to kind of be mindful of is this place close to home has a daycare, and then if I were like a 15 to 20 minute like transit time, totally cool.
All right.
And then if I'm able to pick them up at night, absolutely. And then probably second to that is a great team, honestly.
Right.
if I'm
That makes sense.
if I'm traveling, it's got to be some cool people.
Hmm. Yeah. I see that. My answer would be very similar in all honesty. Because the thing I've seen happen too often, sadly, is when there's a company in like a hybrid culture, like so some people are in on Monday and some on Tuesday and whatever. When you go into the office, all you do is sit down in a room, put on your headset, and everyone's in Teams or in Google Meet or something similar. Which basically means you could be at home in Teams meetings, but now you're somewhere else in Teams meetings. Like it doesn't make sense to be there. Like there's no good energy because everyone's just talking and no, you're on mute. Like that kind of stuff is all you hear the whole day. So if you have an office day, I would say it should be one for the full team. And you should really empty your calendars. Like no Teams meeting during the day. Should really be a day where you collaborate and have your workshops and your design critique meetings and that kind of thing. Because then it's useful. It's not a waste of time. And that would be for me a reason where I'm like, yeah, let's do an office day. Like that makes a lot of sense. I think that's better from time to time. And I fully agree with the daycare thing. I'm a parent too, so I need some time in the morning, to get everyone to the place where they need to be before I can go to work.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I'm with you there on like the everyone has to be in the office, and it's always weird. It's always awkward to have 9 people in the physical boardroom, and then you have the one person that's remote. Yeah, they always feel excluded. So I think everyone needs to
Yeah.
be
Yeah, yeah.
there and
The best
present.
the best thing is when like when like you have let's say 9 people in a room and one person remote. Like there's out of those 9 people, there's always someone who's like very aware of the 10th person at
Yes.
home. Like, and then it's like we're talking, and then out of nothing, they're like, "What do you think, Tyler?" And then shouting into the microphone, and then the guy at home wakes up like, "Hey, what?"
Well, and to be fair to that 10th person, if you're not involved and engaged in the conversation, you can disengage quite easily.
Yes, yes, yes. It's not a me trying to bring down the one person being remote like that. It's very tough being the only one remote versus the rest being there. It's not a good thing to not a good position to be in, and I've slacked off quite a bit during such meetings as well. And it would be better to be there in the same room.
Yeah, I think so. And also laptops down.
Yes.
If we're all engaged, just get off,
Mm.
close our
Yeah.
laptops, and let's get out the old dry eraser and marker on the whiteboard.
Yeah, that's true. Like it has some dreamy, like a nostalgic feeling to it. Like the old school design whiteboard in a room meetings. But would I go on a long commute for it? I'm not sure. Maybe depends on the people, as you have said it before.
And if there's catered lunch.
Well, they are a bit maybe it depends on the lunch again. It's the sandwiches I've seen in catering places there. In most like workshops and stuff I've been to, they really try to impress the people there. Like, look at all the fancy sandwiches we have, and then I'm like, well, I just want a simple one. But maybe that's more of a Nick problem. Like maybe that's not
Maybe.
something, or maybe everyone listening is like, yeah, I have that too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's what has to come down to a vote. I think
Yeah,
places I've been at, it's like let's vote for what we're what we're having for
yes,
lunch. So we're
yeah,
not having
yeah.
fancy, undelicious sandwiches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I just want to have the simple food, but man, that's just a preference. It doesn't really matter for remote versus in office. Um, yeah. Any closing thoughts? Anything we haven't
Yeah,
discussed? Any big remote or office thinking you still have left?
office. Well, one thing those balls that you sit on instead of chairs. I think those are cool.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
I think in the nature of what we do, like sitting down at a desk, I think we talked about like going for walks, exercise at lunch. I think just being mindful that you have to get up from your seat and or have something to keep yourself moving. Um, especially like as we get older, I think it's harder to keep that pot
Yeah,
belly down. So I think it's just about having a balance of working and then staying active. I think um, having a clear kind of exercise routine keeps your energy up to kind of crush through the day.
yeah, yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Maybe that's the big takeaway. Like remote is great, but be aware of all the pitfalls, mostly physically and mentally for yourself. Like you have to
Yeah,
take care of yourself a bit extra because of the risk of sitting down the whole day and doing nothing else but working.
exactly. And keep your junk because you're at home. You have access to the fridge. Keep
Oh,
your
that's
junk
true.
to a minimum.
Yeah, yeah. I go to the grocery store once a week, and like I can bring home whatever I want in terms of food. But when once it's gone, I won't go again until the next week. Like that's my own rule, because otherwise I would go every day and pick up nice lunches and whatever. Like that's a problem.
With you there. I think I've limited myself to for lunch. I just have a smoothie. Like I have
Hmm.
a
Nice.
so I don't have any extra anything. It's just a protein shake, and it gets me to supper, uh, and it's making supper for the fam.
Hmm. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Sounds like a wonderful day.
Yeah. Plus, that's all I have time for to make after I do my exercise. Trying to fit everything in that hour and a half.
Yeah. 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 I get it. Yeah. All right, so that's episode 2.
Episode 2 in the bank, locked in.
Yeah. I mean,
How we
that's going
feeling?
quite well. Yeah, I feel very good about it. I think like episode 3 can't get here quick enough. It's good to have the conversation going. It really makes me think and see a different perspective.
Should we tease the third episode's topic?
Yes. Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think an interesting one is there's been a lot of talk about design having a seat at the table, um, and I guess the question is, does everyone need to have the seat at the table, or do they want it? I
Yes.
think there's a difference between wanting a seat at the table and then doing the stuff that's needed to be done once you have that seat at the table.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's a good one. And then we also have like should every designer have a seat at the table, or is there a difference between in-house or freelancing people or agencies, or is it more of a corporate thing? I don't know. Something to think about, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely.
it's the grass is always greener somewhere else. Like, I really want to have that seat. I really want to have influence. I want to do more than just be a pixel pusher. But then once you have the seat, it's really tough. And maybe you will miss the old school days of just creating beautiful screens.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool thing to think about and talk about in the next
I
episode.
think so. Awesome. Amazing. Anything you want to let our new users or not our users, Jesus, I'm in my UX mode. Anything you want to let
sounds like almost sounds like you're a designer. Like it's always user, user, user.
Jesus. I know. Anything you want to let our listeners know that you're working on or link to?
Well, I imagine with once this comes out, like then we have the designtablepodcast.com website live.
Yes.
Like I think that's a good place to start because the very first version, like a true designer, like the MVP, it will be just links to places to listen to this, but it will also have links to more about us, like who is Tyler, who is Nick, like what are they up to. Like I think that's a great hub, like the starting hub, the place to find all the links and all the content. And this now that I've said this, I really have to make it because now people can listen to it and people can point out to me like, "Hey, Nick, you told us you would do this." So now I have to, and that's exactly like maybe going full circle. Like I started mentioning this, like I need a deadline. This is my deadline. It needs to be done.
And
so that's it.
It's already done.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right.
Then I guess we'll wish our lovely listeners a goodbye, and we'll see you next time.